Hi, thanks for tuning in. This is a weekend review for the week ending July 22nd, 2022. We're looking at a weekly chart of the S&P 500. Is this a breakout? I don't know. We'll have to see. But if you're a technician, most of what you're doing is just looking at the data and trying to build a weight of the evidence approach. So let's start with some data points. 389.82, this gap down here, closed the week above it. It's the second time that's happened. The last time that happened, sellers came up. We'll see if they come up this time. I don't think so, right? Second bullish thing on the ledger here. Price closed above the 510. Now the 20's up here at 410. And there's not a good chance the bulls are going to get above 417 on the first go ahead. But there's a lot of fundamental stuff happening this week. I think you're going to learn if the U.S. economy is in a recession. GDP numbers come out on Wednesday. I think you should likely see a large move post Wednesday into end of month. It could be in metals as a result of recession headline. It could be in bonds as a result of recession headline. It also could be in small caps if there's no recession at all. The things that have been hit the hardest. Now, when I look at this chart, I see this very clear falling wedge pattern. I see everyone calling for the weekly 200. And then I see price closing above the 10 and the 5. So, we've got an obvious now, a high, a higher low, and a higher high pattern. So everyone wants to say, oh, the weekly trend hasn't changed. Yeah, the weekly trend has changed. That's exactly what just happened. And the longer she stays above 393, remember the close, 395, closed above this high, this candle high right here. As long as she stays above that, the more she'll be attracted to this 417 number, the previous candle high. Right? Getting above this gap opens the high of the candle. And when these falling wedge breakouts occur, best case scenario is you go back all the way up to here, 462. Worst case scenario is you stall out here at the 20 and this supply line around 417. If you zoom in, most of the markets had a rough day on Friday, but SPY is just riding the 5. And this is a trend that you can follow. Again, I would play the 510 right now because most of these markets, if you're waiting for the longer term signals, you might just be sitting on the sidelines for a long time. I'll notice that the 40, this blue line, acted as resistance here for a week. Sliced right through it on what looked like the third attempt, came up shy, busted right through. Obvious target now is this gap fill at the 400 and then 417 area like we talked about before. But this is a bull flag breakout, and the target for this pattern here, this just simple bull flag pattern, is either there, depending on how you want to draw it, or from the breakout point, which brings it up here. That being said, the obvious pattern that then starts to reveal itself would be like a left shoulder, a head, and a right shoulder. So that's definitely something I'm keeping an eye on. I don't believe price will get above 417 on the first stab. However, it's not my job to guess. It's my job to just react. Just like back here, you had a nice setup, got above the 510, the 510 bull cross, PPO reset to 0, curl up. Histogram just couldn't get positive that cycle. So that's what we're looking for this cycle. Can the histogram get positive and stay positive? Hasn't happened in a long, long time. And what needs to happen is a breadth thrust that looks like this. I mean, look how long she's been below. It's got to get above. And it has to stay above for this trend to be profitable, right? Otherwise, you'll zoom out to the monthly and see what's likely to happen. Okay, so if this 40 in the bottom of the monthly Bollinger Band don't hold, which is the unlikely event, right? Every other time you come into this area, you get a bounce or some type of rally back to all-time highs. Doesn't mean you set a new all-time high, but a rally back. So that's what I'm anticipating here. I mean, at minimum, this 417 level that we talked about, maximum would be all-time highs. And so the monthly close is going to be very telling. And when you look at reversal candlesticks, there's only a few that you could have, right? So this candle here, prices looks like it's trying to close inside. So unless she gets above 417 by Friday, which is the low probability of bet, this is just an inside bar on the monthly. And in order for the bulls to reverse this downtrend on the monthly, they've already done it on the weekly, but to do it on the monthly, they have to close inside, then close above this high, and then ultimately this 417 level gets unlocked. That's how I look at the charts from a technical standpoint. Let's take a look at IWM. Right in the middle of the trend, PPO reset to 0, ADX curling down. That's the monthly look. The weekly look, same idea. Higher low, higher high maybe, I don't know. PPO bull cross, ADX not confirming. That being said, ADX could come all the way back down to here where the trough is. She could also just set a higher low, which has been happening here this whole downtrend. But that broke right here. Okay, that broke in May at the low. All right. That higher low pattern has been broken. So you can't just ignore this high, low, higher high that's in the work. Again, has not broken the downtrend over here, and I'm just looking for, ideally this high here to hold, that 190 high. So the closer to 190, the better the sell setup. And you zoom in here, and you've got yourself an outside bearish reversal candle. So to confirm this, the bulls need to close below this low on Monday. And if they do, it likely sets up downside action into Friday. Again, I don't see that as the high probability bet. I think there's going to be either whatever happens on Wednesday is going to be the opposite of what happens Monday, Tuesday. And so they started a correction on Friday, right? So like SMH here closed below Thursday's low. But you have a weekly a weekly continuation week, right? Trying to break out of this downtrend, trying to get above the 20. Again, same idea. Like, can they get above this pivot high here at 250? It's unlikely they will on the first attempt. But what that does is it sets up this left shoulder, this head, V-shaped recovery, right shoulder, dip back down into 217s. And then after the recession headlines and all of that, in the coming months, summer, right, will end in about 5 weeks. That's when, bleed out into the end of summer and then rally into the election. And again, we can't ignore the fact that there's a midterm in November. So, just for this week, you want to use these levels again to give yourself these levels with the timing component of Wednesday being a very important day to help reduce risk and hedge. And so I think that the best way to do that is to not be all in and to have some exposure to things like TLT and possibly gold. Here's TLT breaking out again above this high here. Very important that they stay above this high. you know, I hate these little inverse head and shoulder patterns that aren't more flat, like a horizontal neckline instead of these declining necklines. That being said, this is a brand new trend. If you look at the 50, the 20, the 10, the 5, they're all right where they need to be. The 20 just crossed over the 40. I'm sorry, I don't use the 50. The blue line is the 40. The 5, the 10, all curling up. This is exactly what you want to see. So we've got a gap at 116. If that comes into play this week, it will align with the 5 and the 10. So that's kind of the line in the sand for this week. Dips into 116 are for buying. And then when you look at this chart from a weekly standpoint, you got the weekly PPO cross just like you did back here. Momentum precedes price, okay? Now there's a huge test coming at this 121 level. That is the POC, you know, going back a long, long time. We can even take a look at the monthly here and see. Let's take all this off. This ascending channel. See price tag the bottom of the channel here in June, right when the markets were bottoming. So is that June bottom a lasting low? We're going to find out this week. But above last month's high is a very important development. The bulls want to close above 117 come Friday. And when you look at the weekly, you are getting all the traditional trend following buy signals. They just have to get above the 20 for an intermediate trend change. These are all short term. The 5-10 short term, intermediate, long term, right? So the 20 will unlock the 40, but below the 20, there's nothing you can do. So this is all still very, very early. You've missed nothing in the bonds game yet. And the same thing is true here. Left shoulder, head, right shoulder possibility. Okay, it's possible 112 comes back in again. There's a gap down here to get filled. So bonds are buys. This is just, in my book, this is a buy all the way down to 108 again. I don't think it'll be given. I think 112's more likely to be given. Close below 108, out of the trade. And you look at the daily chart and you get all the PPO looking the way it needs to look. ADX flipping up now, off of a trough. So this is kind of what happens when these trends change. Like same thing happened here, where the trend was kind of up and then the trend shifted down. ADX did this little coil thing at the low, and then the new trend emerged, right? And as price went lower, ADX went higher. That's kind of what's happening here, right? New trend is emerging, and PPO is above the zero line, and it's staying in the trend mode. So same thing happened here. Like the downtrend, and then momentum flips up. Momentum preceded the price flip. You got the flip, and now the bulls are going for, obviously 123 is about it in this pattern. We'll see how this one plays out, but bonds are definitely on the table this week. Let's take a look at Bitcoin. Start at the monthly. I mean, I just don't know what else to do or say or show. This is the only chart that matters in Bitcoin right now. You look at the indicators. ADX hit a trough. PPO lines reset to zero, but look at the histogram. Since March 2021, you've had lower momentum almost every single month. Okay, and so this is like a snowball. It will just get worse and worse and worse until it hits the end of, like, until the hill runs out of momentum. And then it'll start curling back up. And you see this histogram curls up, right, at the end before PPO curls up. So we got to see this histogram start to flatten out, and then the momentum will curl up. Again, the monthly momentum is down so strong. And then you zoom into the weekly. You've got this weekly 200. It's Sunday right now as I'm recording this video. This candle will close tonight. Get a new candle that opens up tomorrow. So this is not a good look. Again, it does have that higher low, higher high feel, but below the 10, rejection at the 10, big upper wick, not what you want to see for Bitcoin fans. Yeah, it just is what it is. We'll take a look at the VIX real quick. I mean, sitting right here at this trend support line. So we're going to see something here. Either this is going to give a break. I mean, again, they closed below the 2374 level. This pivot low here, they closed below. They closed below this fib. And if you go to the high here, you take this pivot low here, you take this pivot high here, and you've now got these fib extensions. It's entirely possible 16's in play. Price comes all the way back down to here, and then you get more of a rally back up to this level, the 26. So we could be in VIX kill mode, for the next 6 to 9 weeks, something like that. But until she gets below this blue line, I'm remaining very cautious on the long side right now. Let's take a look at XLE, because I do believe there's a little bit left here. You look at the monthly, this is what this one's coming down to. The 200 on the monthly and the 10. So the 510, this trend that I love, right? Yellow above orange, triggered the buy here December 2020. Still has not triggered the sell yet. Okay? So if you're a good trend follower, you've done nothing this whole time. Now, as the weekly chart shows you, a little bit different of a story, but still in an ascending channel. We've given up the 20. We're at the 40. Had the 510 bear cross now in the weekly. Breakaway gap. Not the best look. And that trend that's emerging here on the weekly, unless you get more volume here, it could be dying out with one more thrust lower. But yeah, it doesn't have to, right? Closed above the previous week's high. That's what you look for. You're in a downtrend until what? Until you at least get above last week's high. We'll take a look at some stocks that I still like, and then we'll wrap this video up. Keep it under 20. ENPH I still like. I don't see a problem here. We'll take a look at the daily chart outside bearish reversal. Doesn't really want to get above this line. So this is starting to get problematic. Really, really, really needs to get above 229. Otherwise, you do have this head and shoulders topping pattern. Left shoulder, head, working on this right shoulder. That being said, still closing above the 20, 510 bull cross still in play on the monthly. Weekly 510 trending, no problem. All the moving averages right where they need to be, 200 on the bottom. I mean, this is exactly what you want. That being said, they're all going sideways. This is price action that's gone sideways for a year and a half now. And if price can get above this 229 level and ultimately the 282 level, you will have a breakout again. You will have a very, very large base to trade against, a base that's gone sideways years. So this is a name I'm definitely focused a lot on as we move forward. I will talk about KWeb again because I've talked about them for quite a while. We did have the breakout. Let's get rid of the indicators, right? Technical breakout. Can't stay above this high. And this is a big red flag. This 32 level should have unlocked higher prices back here. Close above, but couldn't. Right? This is not a good look. I am being very honest with you. That being said, it's not terrible either. Right? It's just not bullish. It's below the 510. The 510 cross is about to go down, bear. So it triggered a buy here, and now it's triggering a sell for a break even. That's not what you want to see. That's no trend. Right? No trend. There's no trend here in China stocks. It's died. They had a breakout attempt. They failed. So it's real simple. Below 29 bucks, this trade's over. Trade is dead below 28.21. Ideally holds 29. Is likely going to break this low of 29.77. And if that happens, you've got 1, 2, 3 down, 1 up. I'd look for 1, 2, 3 more weeks down. And ultimately what you'd be doing is you got to zoom out to the monthly. Yeah. I mean, this looks like a breakout, okay? Close above the 5 on the monthly last month. That is the first thing you got to do. Close outside this downtrend, close above the 5 in order to reverse. Well, broke the last month's low. Oh no, she didn't. I'm sorry. This is an illusion. Held last month's low by 1 penny. Wow. Okay, so you still just have an inside month. It's not as bad as it looks. All of this is just an inside month. And yeah, this 510 bear cross just happened again. PPO reset to 0. ADX curling up now as price goes lower, which is the opposite of what was happening into here. Price was going up, ADX was going higher. Now you've got the reverse. And I do believe that this thing is out of time. The bulls are out of time. There's a big move coming. You don't want to be in this trade below the $28 level. But what is entirely possible is they'll break this little uptrend, fill this gap, reverse, or break this uptrend, fill this gap, and this isn't the destination. They broke the uptrend. You've got a gap down here. You've got a gap down here. All right, and that's what the bears want. The bears want this gap. So this still looks like accumulation to me. Don't get me wrong. There's no panic yet. Still an inside month like we talked about. But giving up the 5 and the 10 and having a 5-10 bear cross in the weekly is definitely on the cards. And that would be very bearish. That being said, we'll take a look at NVIDIA, another name that I kind of like. Is she breaking out? Look, she's above the 510. The curl, we've got the curl, but still below the 20. Right? So like what stocks are above the 20? There's not many. I mean, you could do a scan for them, but like is Apple? Apple's trying to capture the 20 on the weekly. Is Google? No, not even close. Right? Just failed the cross. I mean, a lot of these, like, there isn't a lot of strength. Right? There's just, I mean, crowd can't get above the 20. 40s acting as resistance. CRISPR, which is an ARK favorite, above the 20. All right? I mean, we got to talk about ARK. Trying to get above the 20. Had the 510 bull cross. Has the PPO look here. ADX resetting to 0? Possibly. Possibly. Which means this thing's got a long way lower she could come, which would push price all the way back up to here. I mean, again, the same setup everywhere, right? You got to rally back up to supply, then set a higher low, which will equate to a higher low on the monthly. We've set a high. We can keep going, then fall back, and then break higher. And this name here, on the daily, had a breakout. So technically was breaking out of this descending channel. And technically still is broken. So this isn't a bad looking chart. She stopped going lower. She's going sideways. All right, and we'll see if she's got enough in her to hold this breakout level and maintain this higher low, higher high pattern that's in play. Price come all the way back down to 42, and it's still being a higher low, higher high pattern on the daily. And if you look at the weekly, that's exactly what's happened. Low, high, higher low, higher high. So ARK has already changed the trend. All right, so just keep an eye, like, try to have an open mind that it's possible the bottom's in. The bottom happened here in June, and the strongest stocks bottomed before that. ARK bottomed way before that. KWeb bottomed way before that. ENPH bottomed way before that. January. Higher lows every single time since. So you just got to keep an open mind that the bottom's in. And when you look at things like gold, you know, I'm not getting the warm fuzzies here. Like, they can't even do a 510 bull cross on the daily without putting in a daily reversal candle. There is just no demand for this rock. There's no demand for it. And when I look at this, I'd say, well, PPO has reset to the zero line. ADX is kind of troughed out. So you do have the chance to flip this back up and hold this cup and handle look. Hold this ABC look. All right, but below 155, this trade is basically done. This low here, below this 157.13 low, that's the low. Can't get below that low at all. And if they do, trade is done. Right, at the 200. This looks like a brand new, this is what I see. Something like this is going to go on for much longer, probably until November, the election. No coincidence. So yeah, that's just kind of how I see this. But again, still range bound. No panic yet. Below 157, and you'll have panic. Price came right down to that level, and you had a green week close. So it's possible they're going to reverse here. I don't know. Again, it's obviously going to rely on the GDP data, and you don't need to guess. You don't need to run in and place bets right before they announce the data. Just let the dust settle, and then place your bets. Okay, well, if you like the content, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, share it, reply, engage, and we'll see you next week.